My mom's dark secret, the shocking life of a tattoo artist at midnight. In the dead of night, when shadows stretched long and the world tucked itself away, secrets breathed and writhed in the silence. It was then that Maria, my mom, transformed into something unrecognizable, a sorceress of ink. Outside the glow of her tattoo shop, the air shimmered with tales of the supernatural, whispers of the forbidden. People said she was the best artist around, but they couldn't fathom the truth. Each tattoo was not just a design, it was a memory, a locked room in someone's heart. The flick of her wrist and the hum of the needle made magic happen, a spell cast in black and color. Each needle bore not just ink but stories weaved with pain and love. Only at midnight, they say, when the clock strikes 12 does her real work begin. The first time I caught a glimpse of her world, my heart thudded like a drum. The walls were painted a deep crimson, laden with artistry that captured the essence of life and death. One wall was plastered with sketches of wolves, roses, and eyes that seemed to follow you. They're alive, I thought. It chilled my spine to see the way they watched, piercing into the very fabric of my being. As I stood there, eyes wide and breath caught in my throat, I overheard hushed voices. Customers, trembling with excitement and nerves, spoke of rituals whispered to them by tattooed strangers who claimed to see the future. A woman with a wild mane of silver hair sat in the corner, her eyes darting around like a bird in a cage. She clutched an old, leather-bound book, muttering phrases that sent shivers down my back. What secrets could she hold? That night stirred a fire within me, a need to understand the magnetic pull of my mom's craft. But questions swirled like smoke in a storm. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was inherently wrong. Why did she only work in the shadows? What lay beyond that door, just behind her heavily tattooed and welcoming smile? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, the air shifted, thick with expectancy. I was about to uncover my mom's hidden truth, a reality that could split the very fabric of my life. What lay behind the ink, the shadows, and the silence? What dark secret awaited to be unearthed in the early throes of the morning? The question hung heavily in the air, intertwining with the scent of antiseptic and fate. The clock struck 12, reverberating through the night like a deafening thunderclap. It was the moment Maria transformed not just an artist, but a conduit of something far greater, far darker. I felt my heart race as I crept deeper into the dimly lit shop, each step measured, out of fear that I would disturb some ancient spell. Suddenly, the air behind me flickered. I turned to see the silver-haired woman from the corner now standing a few feet away, her grip on the leather-bound book so tight her knuckles turned white. "Keep away from her," she hissed, her eyes wide with panic. "Why?" I squeaked, the words escaping my lips before I could rein them in. The urgency in her voice was palpable, like a live wire crackling in the air. "What do you know?" She shushed me, glancing toward the back room where Mom had gone. "This is not a game, child." Her gaze darted from me to the door and back again. "You don't know what she's capable of." I was torn between fear and curiosity. The woman's warning hung thick in the air, but I couldn't pull myself away. It felt like I was being sucked into a dark vortex. "Tell me," I demanded, my hands trembling. It was like a switch had flipped. The adrenaline coursing through my veins drowned out my fear. The woman leaned closer, her breath quick and hot. "Your mother, she draws power from the stories she tattoos. Each client brings a piece of their soul, and you've no idea how dangerous that can be." A chill racked my body at the thought. My mother's art was not just skin deep, it dug into the very essence of people. I thought of those customers, their eyes bright with hope, trusting her with their secrets and burdens. What if those burdens came at a cost? I have to see for myself, I whispered, inching toward the back room, unable to shake the feeling that I had to know the truth. The silver-haired woman's grip tightened on my arm, her nails digging into me. Don't! She cried, fear etched across her face. Her urgency only made me more resolute. I jerked away from her grasp, moving towards the door like a moth to a flame. With each step, the hum of the tattoo machine grew louder, accompanied by a low, chanting whisper that seemed to seep through the cracks of the walls. The words were foreign, rhythmic, overlapping in layers that made my pulse quicken. I pushed the door open slowly. The sight inside was breathtaking yet horrific. The room was bathed in a soft glow, illuminated by flickering candles, casting shadows that danced over the walls. In the middle stood my mother, her back turned to me as she meticulously worked on a tattoo. The skin beneath her needle sparkled as if holding tiny galaxies within. The client, a young man, eyes closed, lay completely still. Yet, a sheen of sweat glistened over his brow, and I could see veins beneath the surface pulsating, throbbing as if they had a life of their own. "Mom!" I gasped, my voice barely a whisper, filled with a mix of awe and horror. She spun around, ink-stained fingers frozen in the air, the needle almost whispering the pulse of some dark intention. Her eyes held an intensity that momentarily took my breath away. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, but I sensed a shift in her energy, a flicker of something vulnerable behind that fierce facade. The air thickened as I stepped forward, unable to speak. I needed answers, but at what cost? Just then, the man began to convulse, his body shaking violently. My heart raced. Was this the consequence of tapping into the darkness? What if I was too late to save him and my mother? As he cried out, the sound cut through me, a harrowing plea that turned my blood to ice. I could either run or confront whatever evil lurked beneath the surface of my mom's midnight world. But as his cries echoed, I had to decide. Could I reveal my mother's truth, or was I destined to be bound by it? The door behind me slammed shut, and all I could think was, I had crossed a line, and there was no turning back now. What would happen next? Would I find out the nature of the power my mom wielded, or would I become another soul lost to the darkness? The violent shakes of the young man intensified, his body twisting in agony as if grappling with unseen forces. My heart thudded in my chest, each beat a reminder of what was at stake. I took a step forward, my feet feeling heavy, yet my mind screamed for me to act. "Mom!" I shouted again, louder this time, desperation clawing at my throat. Her gaze blinked back to the boy, the tattoo machine humming ominously in her grip as if urging her to continue. The vibrant ink swirled beneath the needle, weaving its way into his skin, but at what price? "What's wrong with him?" I faltered, my voice cracking. Her stern face softened for a brief moment, a flicker of maternal instinct battling with the darkness enveloping her. "He's merging," she replied, almost too calmly, her voice devoid of emotion. "His spirit and my ink, they are becoming one." "Becoming one?" I echoed, disbelief coloring my tone. It felt almost unreal, like something out of a horror movie. "Mom, stop it. You have to stop." Without hesitation, I lunged forward, ready to pull her away from the madness. "Don't touch that," she snapped, her voice suddenly sharp, the mother I knew slipping beyond the veil. Fear gripped me stronger than before, but I couldn't just stand there and watch this boy dissolve into pain. "Please, he's suffering," I pleaded, feeling the vibrations of his torment resonate within my own chest. Then, as if sensing my resolve, the young man's eyes shot open. They were wide, glassy, and filled with unspeakable terror. He locked his gaze on me, and for a fleeting second, a connection sparked between us, a mutual understanding that we were both ensnared by the same dark web. "Help me," he rasped, his voice barely a whisper, barely human. "No." My mother's tone was fierce, a protective barrier I never thought she could wield. "You don't understand what you're asking for." I was drowning in confusion and fear. The silver-haired woman's words echoed in my mind. "You don't know what she's capable of." The realization crashed over me like waves. My mom was more than a tattoo artist. she was a sorceress, crafting spells infused in art. Step away. I shouted, stepping into the light of the candles, forcing myself to face the ominous shadow that was my mother. My hands trembled as the realization settled in, the art was alive. The tattoo was more than skin deep, it was a bond that intertwined lives, forever changing or extinguishing them. At that moment, the boy's body arched violently, skin rippling as if a storm raged beneath the surface. I could only stand helplessly, the fear rising in my throat like bile. Please, Mom. You have to let him go. You can't do this. Tears pricked my eyes, blurring my vision, anger and desperation mixing like ink on skin. But her eyes hardened, an unfamiliar flicker. Was it defiance, hunger? You don't know anything about this world. I felt a pull, not just from the glossy ink, but from something deeper. Maybe you're right. Maybe I don't know. But I'm willing to learn. Just let him go. For a heartbeat, the tension in the room thickened, the air electric. The boy continued to thrash, his voice fading into hysterical cries. My mother's expression wavered, caught between the ancient magic that bound her and the compassion she was losing to the darkness suffocating us all. In that charged silence, things shifted like particles in the air, and I realized, there was something I needed to understand, a truth that lay buried in her shadows. But would I have the strength to uncover it before it consumed us both? Just as I reached for her, ready to unleash whatever truth I could find, the shop trembled as if alive, the walls shaking with fury, and the candles flickered violently. A shrill voice sliced through the chaos, "You're too late." Who was speaking? The night was alive with secrets, and I was standing amidst a storm I barely understood. Mom. I gasped, as the flickering shadows began to swirl around us. What was coming next? Would it save us or drown us deeper into the abyss? The chaos around us escalated, the vibrations in the air thrumming painfully in my chest. The young man writhed violently, while shadows zigzagged like serpents on the walls. I could barely breathe, the intensity of the moment closing in like an iron grip. Mom, please. I cried, feeling the weight of desperation crush me. The flickering light cast ghostly patterns, illuminating her face. For a heartbeat, I caught a glimpse of the mother I loved, beneath the mask of power and darkness. Get out. She shouted, the command echoing like an alarm bell. It was sharp, cutting through everything. I could see anger flaring in her eyes, mixed with something shadowy, a rage that felt almost addictive. You're hurting him. I shouted back, forcing my voice through my tight throat. Can't you see? You're losing yourself. The boy's form erupted with renewed energy, his mouth opened wide as if trying to scream. No sound emerged, only a silent, agonizing cry that seemed to pierce the very fabric of the room. My stomach turned at the sight, each pulse of pain radiating out like waves from a stone thrown into a still pond. You don't understand. My mother yelled, her resolve slipping as the magic within the room summoned swirling shadows. It wasn't just chaos, there was intention behind it. The tattoos, they need sacrifice. They cannot be undone. It binds us. A chill gripped my spine at her words, and I felt the darkness swirling around me, daring me to back down. But I couldn't. Not now. Bind us? Or bind you? I pressed, trying to give voice to the truth screaming in my mind. Suddenly, the flickering candles exploded into bursts of blue, illuminating a horrifying spectacle. A face formed from wisps of shadow, eyes glinting with malevolence. I staggered back, heart racing as the realization hit me this was no illusion. It was a manifestation of the power she had harnessed. Look at what you've unleashed. The voice shrieked, a cacophony that reverberated through the shop. You think you can control it? There's always a consequence. What do you mean? I gasped, raw fear clawing at me. The boy's body convulsed, and I swore I could see ethereal flames licking at the edges of his skin, a dance of magic born from suffering. You will lose everything or worse, the shadow grinned, its mouth stretching unnaturally. Enough. I shouted, planting myself in the way of my mother and the boy. I want to let you destroy him. Or us. The room shook violently, the walls bristling as if in a grappling contest between light and dark. My mother's gaze hardened as if she was being driven by a force beyond herself. "I warned you," she said, the tremor in her voice betraying her uncertainty. Without warning, the shadows lunged, wrapping themselves around me like 100 icy fingers. A scream escaped from my lips, terror washing over me. It felt like a drowning under the weight of despair, everything blurring around me. My mother faltered, her expression flickering like the candles. "Stop!" she cried, desperation creeping into her tone. "You don't know what will happen." And then, with a flick of her wrist, everything changed. The shadows coalesced, twisting and forming a path, a dark corridor leading away from the chaos. I caught a glimpse of something glimmering at the end, hope beckoning through the veil of horror. The young man stared wide-eyed as the energy around him shifted, a fragile balance teetering on the edge. I had a choice. Dive into darkness or leap toward the light, and who knew what that would cost? Choose. The face echoed, looking at us both, glee flashing in those shadowy depths. Every decision comes with a price. Fear gripped me, and in that moment of uncertainty, I knew that this wasn't just about the boy or my mother. The path ahead might lead to salvation or doom. With my heart pounding, I took a hesitant step toward the light and whispered the only question that mattered in that dreadful silence: what will I lose? The air crackled, a tremor of destiny hanging precariously before me. The corridor loomed, an invitation cloaked in shadows. My heart raced as glimmers of light danced at the far end, a siren's song amidst the madness. The boy's confused eyes radiated fear and a frantic plea for help. "Don't do this," he gasped, his voice barely a whisper, choked by pain. He writhed, his body seemingly held hostage by invisible threads, his breath ragged like a wounded animal. "Stay with me," I begged, reaching out to touch his arm, but the shadows constricted tighter. They were alive, pulsing with a desperate energy of their own, alive with uncertainty. Choose or lose. The shadowy face twisted, its laughter a grating melody that echoed in our minds. As I looked back at my mother, I saw a flicker of vulnerability in her fierce gaze. Was it regret? Or was she too far gone, consumed by the darkness she embraced? "Mom!" I shouted, desperation clawing at my throat. "Stop this. You don't have to sacrifice him. We can find another way." "It's too late," she cried, her voice breaking momentarily against the tide of power swirling around her. "You don't understand the forces at play. I can't control it. We need him." My mind spun. What had my mother summoned? Did she believe she was saving us by binding us so cruelly to this dark pact? I shivered, the icy tendrils of shadow creeping up my legs, greedily clutching at my body as if demanding tribute. What if this is just a part of a larger game? I whispered, my voice trembling. What if we could face this together without any sacrifice? "Mom, you can break the tattoos," I implored, gripping her eyes with mine. "You created them. You can destroy them. Please." A flicker of doubt crossed her face. The tension in the air shifted, quaking with potential. I can't just turn it off," she stammered, her bravado waning under the strain. "It's not just about me anymore." The boy convulsed again, sweat glistening as it mixed with the flickering shadows circling him. I could almost feel his pain radiating through the air, a visceral connection binding us in collective horror. The shadows seemed to react to my growing resolve, tightening their grip as if sensing my determination. "Then we both have to fight," I declared, stepping even closer to the boy. "Together, we have to combat what you've started. Join me." The shadow grinned wider, eager to engulf me in its chilling grasp. "Together, you could wield untold power." "No." My voice echoed like a gavel. Each syllable pushed back against the darkness surrounding us. "Together, we create a better choice. A chance for everyone to escape this nightmare." My mother faltered, her confidence spiraling as the shadows flickered uncertainly around us. But with that momentary lapse, the shadows surged, dragging me backward, pulling me toward the dark. The room vibrated violently, and I thought I could hear the walls themselves scream. My mother's face twisted with rage and pain mixed with something resembling fear. When her voice sliced through the chaos, it trembled with a terrifying mix of power and vulnerability. "You won't take her from me," she shouted, taking a step forward. But the shadows responded violently, a seething mass determined to engulf us entirely. Desperation surged through me. "Mom! Look beyond your fear. Remember who you were before all this," I cried, attempting to choke back tears of frustration. For a moment, the swirling shadows stuttered, as if hesitating beneath the weight of my words. Suddenly, there was a blinding flash from my mother's hands. Light burst forth, pushing back against the shadows. She gasped, eyes wider than I had ever seen them, caught between two conflicting forces, and then I saw it, the brief shimmer of recognition in her gaze. That flicker of power she still had. "We can undo this," I pressed, urging her to grasp my heart raced, urging her on as the shadows writhed around us, hungry for our souls. But before answers could emerge, a sound shattered the air, a low growl, resonating like thunder. The shadows stirred, awakening something ancient and threatening within their depths. Too late, the shadowy face hissed. The reckoning begins. As the tremors intensified, dread sank its claws into my gut. I held my breath, fear clawing at every corner of my mind. What would this reckoning cost? And how far would the shadows go to stake their claim? In that moment, just as reality began to unravel, I understood. The true battle was only just beginning, and none of us were safe. "Mom," I whispered as the darkness closed in, "what have we awakened?" Light splintered through the darkness, flickering like a heartbeat. The shadows recoiled momentarily, revealing fleeting glimpses of the boy's face, a mixture of determination and fear. I felt the pull of anguish in my chest, an ache that settled deeper as I clutched my mother's gaze, desperate for her to remember who she was, the spark of love that had once lit her eyes. "I know you're in there, Mom," I pleaded, my voice barely above a whisper now, trembling with urgency. "You can still fight this. You gave me life, you can save us." The shadows twitched at my words, coiling tighter around us as if enraged. The low growl morphed into a thunderous roar, reverberating through the air. My body shivered, the ground beneath me shaking as the darkness lunged forward, eager to reclaim its dominance. "Foolish child." The shadow snarled, stretching its dark limbs toward me like icy fingers. "She's mine now. You cannot control what you do not understand." "No." My scream sliced the air, echoing against the walls that trembled in response. "You don't own her. You don't own any of us." With a sudden spark of defiance, I stepped between the shadowy mass and the boy, determination racing through my veins. I reached for the light within my mother, the remnants of her strength. "Remember the warmth. Remember the laughter. Please, Mom. Push this back." The tension thickened, a heavy silence settled before an electric jolt surged through the atmosphere. I caught a flicker in her eyes, a shimmering thread of recognition entwined with pain. I can't." She gasped, her voice a feeble whisper, filled with anguish. As the feedback loop swelled, the shadows slithered closer, extending their dark tendrils almost instinctively toward the boy as if they sensed the opportunity in his frailty. I drew in a swift breath, my heart pounding as I realized the truth. "This isn't just about us," I cried desperately, grasping the boy's hand. "It's about who we could help, who we could save. We are stronger together than any force of darkness." At my words, a surge of energy pulsed through the air. The shadows hesitated, twisting and writhing as if deliberating over the weight of our collective hope. I could feel the boy's warmth against my skin, a lifeline amidst the mounting dread. "Do it," I urged my mother, all fear set aside in that singular moment of clarity. "You can break this. We can fight." In a heartbeat, the dark mass hesitated, teetering on the edge of decision. But as quickly as hope ignited, it dimmed. The shadows roared in fury, slashing through the air with a sound like breaking glass, drowning out our resolve. "No!" My mother screamed, her voice straining against the cacophony. It's too dangerous. I want to let you go down with me. My heart sank. But standing alone makes us weak. I shouted, feeling the shadows grip me tighter, pulling with a malicious hunger. Mom, don't you see? We can end this together. Rather than collapsing inwards, I felt the swell of energy around me, the boy's hand tightening around mine. The light from my mother flickered precariously, but it was there, visible against the encroaching darkness. Please. I begged one last time, pouring every ounce of hope and love into that single plea. Don't abandon us. Don't give in. From beneath the chaos, an anguished cry erupted from the shadows, echoing with a pain that felt eerily familiar. A flicker of promise ignited deep within my mother's eyes. Time stopped, the breath caught in my throat as a blinding light erupted from her hands, illuminating the corridor in warmth and strength. The shadows recoiled, shrieking as they twisted away from our union, but with that explosion of light came a deep rumble beneath our feet, and the walls began to crack, splintering under the weight of unleashed power. Hold on. I shouted, fear clawing as I braced myself. What had we awakened? Would this newfound light shatter the darkness, or unleash something worse? The answer hovered in the air, a haunting question wrapped in uncertainty, as the shadows hissed in rage, searching for a way back into our world. The ground trembled beneath us, jagged fractures spidering across the walls like veins of panic. My heart raced, pounding in harmony with the chaos around us. The shadows writhed, their ferocity building, clamoring for a piece of our newfound light. Everything felt poised on a razor's edge, waiting for the cusp of catastrophe or salvation. Simon, Mom. Fight back. You've got this. I shouted, my voice strained but unwavering. I could see her uncertainty flickering in her eyes, the horror of what loomed, terrifying her into submission. With each breath, I pulled the warmth from her memories. I envisioned our days in the sunlight, laughter at the park, late-night stories, our secret ice cream stash. Those moments had woven us together. Remember those times. Please. You need to fight for them, for us. As if answering my call, a sliver of light burst from her fingertips, cascading like molten gold against the stifling shadows. It was enough to create an echo, a blinding reflection against the dark, a reminder of the love that once reigned within her. The shadows shrieked, a wailing protest that rattled the air. They twisted violently, sharp tendrils snaking towards my mother, their intentions malevolent and cold. Panic clawed at me. Protect us. I gasped, squeezing the boy's hand tighter, his fragile warmth anchoring me amidst the storm. I can't hold it. My mother cried, choked with fear, the light sputtering as it waned, her resolve crumbling. No. You're stronger than this. I was desperate now, fear mingling with anger, fueling my conviction. You brought me into this world. You fought for my life. Fight for yours. Fight for us. The shadows roared, their fury swelling, encroaching on the light. Just as it felt all would be lost, the boy flinched, a flicker of understanding crossing his face. We can't let them win. He shouted, raising his free hand towards the darkness. Together. With a sudden surge, the boy poured his energy into our grip. The shadows paused, caught off guard by our unity. I felt a swell of courage, the power of 3 desperate hearts aligning against a common foe. At that moment, the room exploded in brilliant light, a stark contrast to the darkness surrounding us. The shadow creature screamed, its form buckling, twisting in agony as if we dethroned sand at a raging fire. Stay strong. I yelled, reaching toward my mother. You have to believe we can do this. But the shadows didn't retreat easily. They lashed out. I stumbled back, the child losing his footing as darkness surged, hungry and relentless. I caught myself, determination surging like a wildfire, my pulse hammering in my ears. Hold on. I shouted, planting my feet and drawing all my strength from my core, the love and memory swirling vividly in my mind. They were the ropes tethering me to reality, stabilizing my resolve that it was a chaotic frenzy, an all-or-nothing clash spilling forth like a tempest. For the briefest moment, I believed we could break through the darkness, but there was a flicker, a shimmering reflection dousing my hope. The shadows laughed, a deep rumble that echoed through the air. You're all fools. You cannot win against what you do not comprehend. I blinked, dread coiling in the pit of my stomach. What do you mean? I shouted back into the swirling chaos, but the shadows simply roared, a triumphant tone echoing against the walls. In that breathless moment, clarity sparked through the chaos. This wasn't just a battle against the shadows, but a fight against something far deeper, something within my mother, something hidden behind the darkness that had claimed her. And just like that, the ground trembled again, but this time it felt different, as though an unseen force was churning beneath, something eager to break free. What have we awakened? I breathed, fear coursing like ice through my veins. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the floor, and within it, a shadowy hand grasped upward, dark and grotesque. The true face of the darkness was about to reveal itself. The hand broke through the floor like a twisted root searching for light, jagged and claw-like, clawing at hope as easily as it ripped through the ground. I gasped, stepping back, my chest tight with terror. That wasn't just a shadow. It was something alive. It thrashed in the dim light, straining for freedom, its very existence a grotesque parody of humanity. Mom! I shouted, but the word barely left my lips before the entity surged closer. The room spun, fragments of reality bending as I scrambled to grasp what was happening. I could hear the boy's whimpers beside me, a haunting tune against the chaos. Stay with me, I yelled, gripping his hand tighter. I glanced at my mother, her eyes wide, reflecting the horror of what had come forth. It was as though she faced herself, her own darkness manifesting right before our eyes. Mom, please. I reached out, trying to bridge the gap between her fear and the light that had previously sparkled in her fingertips. Don't let it take you. The shadows danced angrily around the creature, hissing like snakes, forming a dark halo that threatened to snuff out our hope. The grotesque hand pulsated, as if it could hear me, eager to draw us back into its depths. This is your darkness, Mom. You've kept it buried for too long. I shot out, although the words felt heavy in the air, laden with the weight of truth. You need to confront it, not run away from it. My mother's gaze locked onto the figure struggling to rise fully. The shadows whispered around her, weaving dark messages into her fear. Every word they breathed betrayed a piece of her past, a meandering path of mistakes and regrets that led to this moment. I could sense it, the stories haunting her like restless spirits. No, I can't face it, she cried, her voice trembling like leaves in a storm. It's too late. It's too far gone. No. I shouted, the urgency in my voice punctuated by the vibrations of the tremors beneath our feet. It's not too late until you decide it is. You can fight. The creature froze mid-struggle, as if my words had pierced through the shadowy violence. I dared to hope. Maybe we could bring her back, maybe we could reach the woman hidden behind centuries of hurt and darkness. Together. The boy echoed beside me, catching the depth of my plea, his small voice laden with childlike faith. We have to do this together. As if responding to our united energies, the shadows reeled back slightly, startled by our bond. I felt my mother's hand brushing against mine, a tentative contact, like the first spark of a flame in the dark. It flickered, weak but undeniably present. Remember the stories, Mom. I pressed, my chest aching with urgency. You told me about how you learned to breathe art into every tattoo, to shape pain into beauty. Let that strength guide you now. Slowly, she closed her eyes, the tension etched in her features softening just a bit. It was as if she was pulling from some deep reservoir of hope, allowing the flicker of light to rise within her, battling against the shadows that clawed at her soul. The ground beneath us seemed to resonate with her struggle, cracks widened, each fissure a reminder of everything that had led to this moment. The shadows howled in protest, fangs bared, trying to claw their way back into her heart. With a primal scream, she threw her head back, tossing her long hair wildly. I will not be consumed. Not today. In that moment, the air thickened, saturated with her anger and defiance. The light erupted from her, blending with the fierce strength of our hands, illuminating the room as we faced down the blackness threatening to engulf us. But the entity roared, a sound so deep it vibrated through my bones. Foolish mortals. This darkness is more than what's inside her. It's ancient, far older than you can imagine. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding in my ears. What had awakened? Was this a battle we could win, or were we mere pieces in a game far grander than we understood? Just as the shadows began to recede, the ground heaved, sending us tumbling. As I hit the floor, shockwaves rippled through me. I looked up, terror clawing at my chest as the creature began to shift, reshaping itself into a form too terrible to comprehend. Stay close, I hollered, desperate to keep my mother with us. But what would happen when the true face of the darkness fully emerged? Before I could process it, a voice, a haunting echo layered with malice, rose above the chaos. You think you can defeat me? This is just the beginning. I felt cold settle into my bones. What horrors awaited in the depths of our fight? The darkness had awakened, and apparently, we had just scratched the surface of something unfathomable. The ground shuddered violently, splintering under the creature's form as it expanded, stretching features that were simultaneously human and grotesque. I could barely catch my breath as the air thickened with dread, pressing against my lungs. My mother's eyes darted around, wild and frantic. She was spiraling, her grip slipping from mine. Don't let go, I screamed, tightening my hold in a desperate plea. The entity twisted, oozing blackness that seeped into the cracks, alive and writhing, monstrous shadows elongating into jagged teeth and hollow eyes. Its voice slithered through the air, sultry and dark. The past cannot be escaped. It crawls ever closer. I glanced at the boy beside me, his gaze locked onto the creature in a mix of terror and unwavering belief. We can defeat it. We have to, he shouted, though his voice trembled, just like mine. This was no ordinary foe, it was a manifestation of a lifetime's worth of suffering, a darkness that gnawed at the soul. Listen to the child, the creature hissed. He knows nothing of the torment that binds you all. But I am your mother's deepest wound. Shut up, I shouted back, the flood of anger momentarily pushing through the fear. You don't get to speak for her. I felt the ground ripple beneath me, as if it shared my defiance. My mother's features twisted with recognition and dread, the shadows clawing at her heart, wrapping around memories she thought she had buried. Her face paled, but I saw something flicker, a glimmer of resolve hidden behind layers of pain. Mom, you are stronger than this, I urged, lowering my voice to cut through the chaos. You taught me that it's our scars that make us beautiful. Show it, Mom. Fight back. Her hands trembled, fingers curling into fists as she took a deep breath, a moment of clarity washing over her. The shadows hissed, sensing her will begin to shift, retreating just the slightest bit. Tattoo your fears, reclaim them, I whispered. Turn the darkness into art, like you always said. For a moment, silence reigned. The tension hung thick in the air. Then, my mother drew herself tall, eyes narrowing, as if she was focusing on a distant memory of light. The creature shrieked, the walls vibrating with its rage. Foolish humans. You conjure nothing but the frayed edges of despair. Suddenly, she took a step forward, hand up, fingers splayed as if she could feel the weight of the darkness against her palm. No more. Her voice resonated with defiance, stronger than before. You are nothing but a shadow of my past. And just like that, the air around us shimmered with an inexplicable energy. Flickers of light erupted from her, surrounding her in a halo that throbbed with color. Peace and strength intertwined, reaching for the boy and me. I felt warmth settle in my chest, and I clung to it like a lifeline. The creature roared, amplifying the sound to a fever pitch, but my mother stood firm, light radiating from her every pore. I marveled at her transformation. The essence of the artist she once was sparking back to life before our eyes, louder and louder. I could hear the whispers of stories she had long buried, of her failures, of pain, of moments she had turned into ink on skin. Each recollection fueled the light surrounding her, a hurricane of colors that surged forth against the encroaching blackness. But just as victory seemed possible, the creature writhed, shifting again into something even larger, a gaping maw ready to swallow us whole. You cannot vanquish me. I will consume everything. I won't let you. She yelled, and her voice sent shockwaves through the room, resonating with the power of every truth she had concealed. The shadows shrieked and faltered, recoiling as if stung by the brilliance of her conviction. Then, the ground rumbled once more, and a jagged rift opened beneath our feet, darkness spilling forth like a wave crashing against the shore. We were teetering on the edge of an abyss, heartbeats aligned in frantic rhythm. Hold on. I shouted, as my mother's energy shone brighter, battling the encroaching void. But just when it felt like she might defeat this terror, the creature's haunting laughter echoed deep within my mind, a sinister reminder. You think you've won? The true nightmare is yet to come. A chilling sense of foreboding settled around us, as we faced the abyss. What would it take to finally overcome the shadows that haunted her, and could we survive the horrors that lay ahead? Light flooded the room, battling the shadows that surged and lashed at its edges. Maria stood defiantly in the eye of the storm, a beacon of strength surrounded by tendrils of darkness. Her hair whipped around her, and the ink-stained fingers that had created stories now wielded the power to rewrite her fate. Remember, she murmured, her voice shaking but unwavering. I am not just the darkness, I am also light. The boy lay trembling on the table, an embodiment of every story she had collected, a soul holding the weight of others' regrets. With every breath, Maria reached into her memories, the laughter shared, the tears erased, the tattoos that transformed pain into art. The shadows recoiled, sensing the change like animals retreating from fire. Together, I whispered, my voice a gentle push against the chaos. I felt the boy's weakness, his plight entwined with ours. I squeezed his hand, hoping to share some of our newfound strength. We can do this. The creature lunged again, asserting its malevolence, but Maria's focus remained unwavering. You are nothing but echoes of fear. She shouted, her voice drowning in its growl. You are the past, but I hold the present and the future. A shudder rippled through the shadows, a desperate attempt to reclaim dominance. But something shifted, perhaps it was the sheer force of Maria's dedication or the bond the three of us were forging. We were stronger together, not just fighting separate battles but offering support against the storm. Mom, remember our bond, the stories you told me? I urged, stepping closer, ready to protect her. I needed her to grasp the depths of her own power, to see beyond the pain that suffocated her. This is yours to conquer. Her eyes narrowed, and I watched intently as clarity swept through her gaze, wiping away years of fear. I will no longer be bound by your grip. She screamed, summoning a blinding surge of light that shattered the darkness surrounding us. The shadows writhed and howled in rage, twisting into grotesque shapes, yearning for release from the void where they thrived. But Maria pushed forward, each step steady and filled with purpose. The stories you've claimed, each tattoo I've made, are life itself. I will not allow you to twist them any longer. Light erupted from her palms, swirling upward to illuminate the shop, transforming the crimson walls into a vibrant rainbow of hope. The creature shrieked, a transcendent wail, as the colors intertwined, blinding it. Now! I shouted, urging the boy to join in, and he raised his trembling hand, sparkles flying from his fingertips. With a shared focus, we forged a chain of light, radiant and powerful, weaving history and hope together. The shadows recoiled, seeping away as if repelled by our unity. No! You cannot defeat me! It howled, but its voice was filled with uncertainty. We already have. I countered, the truth ringing clear in my heart. You do not define us. With an explosion of energy, the light engulfed the creature, breaking it apart like ashes scattered in a breeze. The shadows howled in agony, their cries fading as they retreated into oblivion, leaving only flickering remnants behind. The light settled gently, illuminating every corner of the room. Silence wrapped around us like a warm hug. The air felt lighter, the tension lifted, and the oppressive weight that had hung over us was gone. Maria exhaled, her shoulders dropping, trembling fingers finally stilling. She was free from the shadows she had held onto for so long. "I did it, we did it," she murmured. Her eyes met mine, teary yet bright with renewed spirit. "I fought the darkness within, and I chose the light." The boy's breath slowed, his body now calm after the chaotic storm. I knelt beside him, relief washing over me. "You're safe now," I whispered, wiping away the sweat on his brow. As Maria stepped forward, she gazed at the intricate tattoos she had once drawn with fear. "Every ink story is a part of me, a part of the world. They need to be embraced, not feared." The boy smiled weakly, his eyes glistening. "Thank you." The words felt heavy with gratitude as he began to sit up, a flicker of strength igniting within him. Maria stepped closer, extending her hand in support. In that moment, the three of us formed a circle of unity, sealing the bond we had created. Shadows that once drove us apart now joined us, transformed into a patchwork of stories, a collective tapestry of shared experiences, triumphs, and love. And Maria looked at me, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm sorry for everything, the secrets, the pain. I was lost, but now I know what truly matters. Our stories belong together." "Together," I echoed, my chest swelling with the powerful connection woven between us. With the dawn creeping in, a warm light cascaded through the windows, lifting the remnants of a midnight horror. We stepped outside, where the world awaited bright and full of hope. A fresh start lay ahead, each day a blank page waiting for new stories to be tattooed into our hearts. And as we walked into the light, I knew we had emerged from the darkness, not unscathed, but as storytellers who had faced the shadows, and triumphed. Now it's your turn to share in this journey. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions, thoughts, and theories about the ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing conclusion. This is the moment to show your support.